there are a lot of buzzwords in politics, and in the last year or two, we've heard a lot about change. But I think one thing that we all know, we've all aspired to do and tried to do is to change, the way the system works in Springfield. And one of the bills that you just talked about, Pay As You Go, which institutionalizes that spending restraint, that says you truly will not spend more than you take in, is a huge first step. But we also have to look at other ways to cut spending and to try to keep that that lid down. You've got a couple of interesting bills. One of them deals with executive pay raises. Can you fill us in on that?
Sure. I proposed a bill stemmed from last fall when the Associated Press came out with a report that said that so many of the governor's staff received double-digit pay raises on average, in some cases even a 20% increase in pay. And I think that the bill that I introduced, it's unfortunate that it needs to be introduced, but unfortunately because of the track record, and we have a $15 billion deficit, I thought it was necessary. And what it does is it limits the governor's staff to a 3% increase or the consumer price index, whichever is less. I think it's just a very much, again, another common sense approach to be able to put some spending restraint to try to hope to return to fiscal sanity. Double-digit pay raises are so unrealistic, even in good times, correct, even when the economy is going great. But to see double-digit pay increases at the same time as we're seeing tax increases, with so many people either getting pay cuts or taking furlough days or being unemployed altogether, to ask the taxpayers to dig deeper into their pockets and then get it turned around and slap them in the face and see that government workers are getting double-digit pay raises is really insulting to the taxpayer.
And so you're talking about, a fundamental change, a mind change, a shift, a paradigm shift in how government works. And you've taken that a step further to legislative pay.
And again, you're right. You hear so many buzzwords. One of them is shared sacrifice. Well, I've heard the term shared sacrifice so often, and I thought if we're really going to believe in the concept of shared sacrifice, it really needs to start, with legislators. So I looked myself in the mirror and said that I would take a 10% pay cut. And the critics will say, well, that's not going to amount to anything. We have a $15 billion deficit. You know what? You're right. But so far today, Jim, we've talked about 3 different measures. And I believe we have to start somewhere. We have to remember that we didn't get into a $15 billion deficit overnight. Right. It was at least a decade of overspending, spending more than we bring in, a whole lot of mismanagement with our funding. And I think in today's society, because of the society we live in, everyone wants to find that quick fix. We go to the fast food restaurant, we want our food. If we wait 3 minutes, we're waiting too long. And I think everyone is looking for that magic pill to get out of a $15 billion deficit. Well, you know what? It doesn't exist. There's no way we can get out of a $15 billion deficit overnight, just as we didn't get into this overnight. So I think we have to look at these structural changes, take baby steps, hopefully return to sanity. And I think all of these types of measures that we've talked about are a step in the right direction that will hopefully eventually help us right the ship.
And I think to the critics who say, individually these are minuscule compared to the whole scope of the budget deficit, I think it's important that we begin to develop a discipline as a body, as an institution, a discipline towards reining in spending, a discipline towards looking at how we can limit. And I think that's the real savings from legislation like what you've proposed. That there's a book called The Discipline of Market Leaders, and it talks about there are market leaders at service, and there are market leaders who drive based on cost. And those low-cost market leaders do everything they can to drive down costs. They can jack up prices a little bit, but they don't, because they know they would lose that edge, that discipline, that focus. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about. That's where you bring, this business perspective into government, and it fits and it works. So I commend you. I'm glad you're on board with this, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Likewise, look forward to it.